Hello. Welcome to Open Topic Friday. And today's topic is a good one. So, the topic for today, language matters. Is yours programming you for anxiety and failure? Let's talk about it here on Open Topic Friday. So today I am going to multitask. We'll see how that goes. I have two screens set up. So in addition to being on this screen right there, I've got two additional screens and I want to fill questions in real time. So we'll see how this goes. So again, on Open Topic Friday, I talk about anything. I ask for comments about things that people want to hear, and then we talk about it on Facebook. So I didn't get any comments this week, but this kind of was in the back of my mind since about Wednesday. This one was kind of in the back of my mind, and I thought about it. It kind of came up because I remember that years ago when I started thinking about my language and the way that I spoke to myself. And the way that I spoke to myself also affected the way that I spoke to other people, specifically my kids. And so, one of the things that I deal with now is because I had anxiety, that my language was partially responsible for how I translated that to my kids. And so it's not just how we translate and talk to ourselves, but that language is important because it affects the people around us, right? And that's a huge thing. It is huge. It's big, right? And so that's why I want to come to you today and just discuss what is your language. I often like to tell my coaching clients, if you're not sure about your self language, take a moment and write it down. Write the thoughts that you say to yourself. Just, you know, in a 30-minute period of time, just write down the thoughts that you say to yourself, the thoughts that pop in, those automatic negative thoughts. Write them all down. And then pass them off to a friend and just let them read them. Say it to your friend. Most people go, no, no way, no way, no how, no way. Because the language is so negative, they're like, I'm not telling my friends that. I'm not telling my family members that. I'm not telling my loved ones that. That's negative. Well, should you be telling yourself that? If it's so negative that you would say it to a friend, family, a loved one, should you be saying it to yourself? See, language matters. So the automatic negative thoughts, the negative way that we talk to ourselves, the way to tackle that is start looking at the language you are using. So I don't know how many of you caught my radio show yesterday, and I did talk a little bit about it there in the ways that we can start to reprogram, rewire our brain when we talk about automatic negative thoughts. And part of the way that we do that is start paying attention to our language. So, what do you mean? You said that a couple of times. What do you mean you pay attention to your language? Well, this, I noticed that hey, Julia, I noticed that when I talk to myself, hey, Maria's watching as well. I used to talk to myself in language like this. Well, I'm going to try to do better. I plan on exercising. Well, it may get better. My life may get better. Well, it possibly it might. That language matters because when you start talking about that language, nothing was really positive, right? And so it's you're programming yourself. How are you using your language? And is it programming you for anxiety and failure? Now, I know this one will probably sound familiar. Someone asks you to speak or you have a presentation and a week or two out, and the whole time, oh my God, this is not going to work. I can't believe they asked me to do this. I am so afraid. This is never going to go right. I'm going to make an absolute fool of myself. This is just, it's not going to work. I am such a loser because if I was okay, I wouldn't be having these thoughts. I'm such a loser. Oh my, I can't believe I'm such a loser. Well, language matters because when you use that kind of language, it's programming. It's programming. It is programming for negative, right? And so you're going to see me glance down every so often because, again, I am doing this live and I'm trying to catch the comments as they come on. So, yes, language matters because that language is not programming you for success. Okay, I'm such a loser. If there was any worse mom, it's just not going to be a worse mom than me. You know, for the guys out there watching, it's not going to be anybody who's a worse dad than me. You know, everybody else is smart. I'm so stupid. I'm dumb. I'm always a failure. That language is programming you for failure and anxiety. It's the language, right? Language matters. We have to watch that. And so sometimes when I can't get people to watch their language to benefit themselves, I'll say, what are your children hearing in your language? Yeah, let's think about that for a moment. What are your children hearing? Because they're hearing that negative language. Is it programming them for success or is it programming them for failure? And if I can get people to work on it for themselves, typically they are willing to work on it for their children. Our language matters. If you're constantly telling yourself a loser, then you're just gonna feel like a loser. That's the way it happens, right? It's not that you are a loser, but as long as you program yourself to think that, that's what you get. That's the energy you're putting out. The energy put out is the energy you get back. If you put out loser, no good, failure, stupid, dumb, not smart, never be rich, will never make much of myself. Those things program, that's language in its programming. And now we'll say this, and really one of the reasons why this came up is because I began to realize that from childhood up, there were different adults in my life that used negative language, and that helped to program me as well, you know. And so my dad just put something out on his Facebook page. It's like, look, stop blaming your parents for the way you are because now you grown, own your stuff. And that's what I had to do now. It wasn't necessarily my parents, but there were adults around me in my life that programmed me for negative, and I bought it hook, line, and sinker. And I was about 30 something before I said, I just refuse to live like this anymore. I can do better than this. I can do better than this. But again, I was almost 30. I was well over 30 before I began to understand that language. I was programming myself for failure, and I was also programming my kids for failure, right? And so, simple trick. This is a simple trick, real simple, because you're like, I mean, if you hear this, you're going like, oh my gosh. Because then, hi, Cynthia, you do have to, most of the time, if you hear something that you're doing, you want a way to get around it. And so one of the simple ways of getting around the automatic negative thoughts and the negative language is, again, I ask first that you write down the thoughts that you say to yourself. And if you read those thoughts and you can't say those words to other people around you because you're afraid you will hurt their feelings, that's problem number one, right? If you can't say those words to someone else without hurting their feelings and making them feel bad, then purpose in yourself. Set it as your vision. I'm going to stop saying those thoughts to myself. I had to do that. When I started looking at the thoughts that I said to myself, the things that I said to myself, it was pretty bad. It was really bad. Okay, so that's number one. Write down the negative thoughts, all those automatic negative thoughts, and then hand that off to someone you love, someone you're great friends with. Just say, or else better yet, start reading that stuff off to them. And if you're going, you must be crazy, then that means we need to stop talking to ourselves like that. Number two, a second way to get around the automatic negative thoughts is when you say, you know what, you're such a loser. When you do that, when you're saying negative thoughts, do a no. You're a failure. Just shake your head no. Now, that really does seem kind of childish, doesn't it? It seems kind of childlike and simple. But the research says it works. Because number one, it's an action. For you to move forward in life, you gotta take action. Not like you don't have to take like huge, big steps. You just need to take small action. And that's a very small action. You're a loser. You're a failure. You're a horrible mother. You're a horrible spouse. See, now you got to think because you said this negative thing, but you're not, now you're going like, no, that's not true. So now you got to go back and think about what you're saying to yourself and everything that's negative. You got to shake your head no. Right? So number one, write down the negative thoughts. And if you can't say that to someone else or read that to someone else without it being negative and hurting their feelings, then set as your purpose, your goal that I'm going to stop saying it to myself. Number two, when the automatic negative thoughts kick in, that negative language, because you're programming yourself for failure and anxiety when you do that, right? So yeah, when you say something negative to yourself, yeah, no, you'll never get this. No, not true. You're ugly. No, not true. No one will ever love you. No, not true. Okay? That's step number three. Step number four, right? What is a negative? Someone, you're always a failure. Well, no, I'm not always a failure. You shake your head. No, I'm not always a failure. Because I got up and I went for a walk today. And I tell you, and this is another reason to hit home. If you're in my group, Rising Above Anxiety, I did a Facebook Live there, and I talked about the fact that I was on my way to Verizon to get some stuff done for my phone, and I was dreading it because it's just always an hour or so long wait. And so I knew that I was gonna be there about an hour or so, and it was just gonna zap my time. So I was like, I'm winning with anxiety today. What I did was I parked 2 blocks away. So that meant I had to walk 2 blocks to get to Verizon. And I was right. It was an hour and I got nothing accomplished, right? Didn't even get the phone fixed because they refuse to do that anymore. But I walked 2 blocks back to my car. So I'm still winning, right? So yes, it was a waste of time, an hour there, but I'm still winning because I got my steps in today. See, you can find positive. If you look hard enough, you can find the positive. Okay. And so the negative that I should have done when I said this is going to be such a waste of my time here, I could have did this. Could have did the head shake, but then I changed it around in that I'm going to park further away from Verizon. So I have to walk in, get my steps in, get a little exercise. And then when I'm, done standing or sitting, then I'm going to get my exercise as I walk back. See, it is the action that's important. It is the action that you take that helps you begin to manage your anxiety. Right? So we're talking about language matters, and is your language programming you for anxiety and failure? And if you're calling yourself a loser, dumb, stupid, not smart, you'll never be anything. You'll never be a good mother. Nobody's ever going to love you. Those are all negative language that's programming you for failure. And so write that stuff down. Okay. And so that you are aware of what you're saying. And when the automatic negative thoughts come, and I said it right that time. Yes, I'm winning, right? Shake your head. No, you're a loser. Shake your head. No, you'll never amount to anything. Shake your head. No, you're always a failure. Shake your head. No. Again, very simple action, but the research says it works. And then as you're shaking your head, no, you got to formulate, come up with stuff that it proves your negative thoughts wrong. You're always a failure. Well, actually, I got up and I went to work this morning. That wasn't a failure. I was at work this morning and I was on time. That's a huge thing. If you got to sit in traffic and get up, that's a huge thing to get to work on time. That's a pass for me, right? No one will ever love you. You know, there is somebody for everybody, and you have friends that love you, you have family that loves you. So that's not true. And you begin to find data, collect information that proves your automatic negative thoughts false. So Cynthia says, I only think those things. I try not to say them out loud. So if you if you don't want to say them out loud, Cynthia, the thing to do is as you say them to yourself, do the negative head shake no. So if you tell yourself you're a failure, no. Because I did find something that you did right. Because if you did it right, you're not a failure. Okay. And really, if you got up this morning and put on your clothes, you're not a failure. If you got up out of your bed and put on your clothes and went to work, not a failure. That's a win. And some days we do feel bad emotionally. That's a huge win. Rolling out of your bed, getting up and going on with your day, it's a huge win. So I'm always a failure. Shake your head no. Because that shaking your head no is a small action. And then it's also the signal that you're saying something that isn't true. Okay, so Cynthia says, okay. So yeah, and sometimes, and again, you have to, work with this to make it work for you, right? And that's what's important to do. And thanks for the comment, Cynthia, because I'm sure that probably helps somebody as well. But certainly you hear the negative thoughts, you say it, I'm a loser. I'm never going to be this, because I actually did think at one time in my life that I was a loser. I thought that I was a failure. I thought that I was a horrible mother. I thought that I would never be successful. I thought that I would never make money. And for whatever reason, for me, six figures, I don't know why that was a thing for me. Maybe because we grew up so poor, but I thought I was never going to get to a place where I made six figures. And I said I would never own a business, not ever own a business. So I can tell you that I own not one business, but I own two. All right. I can also tell you that I now make over six figures. And I can also say to myself that I was a good mother. I can say to myself, was I a perfect mother? Absolutely not. Doesn't exist. Was I a great mom? Absolutely. And I'm proud of that. Always had as a goal for my kids. I wanted my kids to be productive adults. And so I'm proud that they are taking the steps and they're doing that. Right. And so a lot of things, Cynthia says, do you believe in the law of attraction? Actually, I do, Cynthia. And I tell you why is because you heard me talk a little bit about the programming as a kid. I was very quiet and, unbeknownst to me, anxious. So I would sit quietly near adults who talked. And so some of those adults would say things about me like, it's some quiet ones you got to watch. Watch her when she grow up. She going to be the biggest hoe around. She gonna sleep with every man all over the place. She'll never amount to anything. Watch what I tell you. Yeah, girl, because them quiet ones, you gotta watch them. She's sitting up here quiet now, but she real sneaky. Them quiet people, they real sneaky. So these adults would say this in front of me, and I understood what they were saying because I had, because I sat around a lot of adults, I had a maturity that other kids my age didn't have. And I had this maturity at like 5 or 6 and I understood adult things because I'd always sit by adults and just listen because I was afraid to go out and play sometimes with kids. But they would say these negative things about me. And I grew up in a time period, if an adult says something, it must be true. By God, it's true. If an adult said it's true. So they programmed me negatively and they programmed me for failure. But in my heart, I believe that they knew what they were talking about because they were adults. And so those impressions, those imprints, that's what I lived. That's what I lived. Those things guided me in my life and then they hounded me for years and years and years. And so I got to a point in my life, I was a single parent. I had, had 3 kids living in a 2-bedroom apartment. And I just said one day, I refuse. And I knew the negative stuff they said about me. And I was like, I'm not going out like this. And the thing is I fought against, I tried to live a life to prove them wrong. And that's what was wrong. Because the law of attraction is what you put out, you get. So I was fighting this negative stuff that they said about me, but I was putting out the negative stuff. So that's what I got. And so, I said one day, I refuse. I will not live down to someone's negative opinion of me. And that became one of my mantras. I refuse to live down to your negative opinion about me. Even as an adult, they will get around and laugh. I told you she wasn't going to be anything. See, told you, she wasn't going to be nothing. And so I purpose in myself, screw this. I did. Screw this. I'm not living down to your negative opinion of me. I refuse. And at that moment, things started to change for me. And in that time frame, realized I found out that I had social anxiety. And I found out that I had been running from things that people had programmed for me negatively. And I said, I'm programming myself. I refuse. I'm programming my own self. Literally, I said to myself, I'm reprogramming myself. I have control over my life. I will not let my kids grow up like that. And I will not live like that. At that point, the shift occurred. It happened. And then little by little, I wrote down that I want a 4-bedroom house. I want each of my girls to have their own room. I want a 2-bedroom house. So when they work on my nerves, I can send them upstairs and away from me so I can have some quiet time. See, Julia, there's nothing wrong with wanting quiet time. And I wrote that down on a sheet of paper. Those were my goals. 5 years later, exactly what I wrote down on that paper came to fruition. I bought the house. It was a 2-bedroom house. It had 2 floors. The master bedroom was on the first floor. My girls' bedrooms were on the second floor. And when they started working my nerves, yes, I sent them to their room. And I had all downstairs by myself. So, absolutely, Cynthia, I believe in the law of attraction, but you have to reprogram yourself sometimes. You have to reprogram yourself. And I did. I got help. I saw a counselor and I did some other things. So I decided that I reprogrammed myself. I became angry that people had programmed me for failure. They programmed me to help with the anxiety and they programmed me for failure. But I decided to reprogram myself. And so that's how I got here to this space. And that's why I do what I do now, because I know what it is to grow up, to be programmed for failure, for anxiety and failure. I understand what that is, but I also understand you can come out, because I did. And if I did, anybody can. So that's why, I do this, because it is in my heart. I want to help other people be as successful as I became, because you can do it. You can do it. So Cynthia said the same thing happened to me. I spent my entire life trying to prove myself to people who always put me down. Yes. Cynthia also goes on to say my own family members. Yes, I became promiscuous and I never believed in myself and my gifts. I'm going to see if I can see the rest of what she said. My gifts and my talents. Absolutely, Cynthia. Now, when I got out, people that were not, in that group of people that were criticizing me, teachers would tell me, my potential, counselors would tell me, my potential school counselors. I didn't believe it, because the programming was so negative and it just had worked on me so well. But along, I did have people to help me get through. But in my career, I had no guidance. None. Nobody guided me, no mentors, no anything like that. And so that's the reason why I do anxiety and career counseling, because nobody should have to take that journey alone. Right? You should be able to get help to get you through that journey. So that's why I'm here. And I thank you all for the comments. I thank you all for watching today. I had said I'm just going to be on for a few minutes, but I really do thank you guys for engaging. It just needs to be said, because so many of us are programmed from our childhood with the negative. The language is negative and it programmed us for anxiety and failure. And then we turn around and carry on with that programming for anxiety, and we program ourselves for failure. But we can do better. And that's why I'm in this space. So I really do thank you all for being here. I promise you today, Cynthia said right, yes. So I promise you guys today that I will talk about language matters and is yours programming you for anxiety and failure. If you have automatic negative thoughts and you're not refuting them, you're not finding evidence to the opposite, then yes, your language, that negative language, it is programming you for anxiety, to have more anxiety, and it's programming you for failure. But you can turn it around. I talked about writing down the negative thoughts, and if you can't say that to someone else, right? Another good thing to do is when you write all those thoughts down and they're negative, rip them up. Some people burn them. That is very symbolic too, and that works as well. I also told you that when you have automatic negative thoughts, you're a loser. Yeah, do the head shake. No. You're a failure. You're never going to amount to anything. Shake your head no. That small action helps you to realize negative thought, I need to find something positive. Automatic negative thought, I need to find something positive. And that really, now I didn't do the head shake because I just realized, I just studied about that and did some research and found that out. That researchers say that really works for people. And so that's new. But I can say that reprogramming, I took control of my life. And I said, I don't care what people said about me. I don't care what negative things they said about me. And I stopped caring what negative things they continue to say about me. But I reprogrammed myself to look for the positive and to be positive. And my mantra was just over and over, I will not live down to your negative opinions of me. And so some of you, I'll have to find a quote and put it back out there. But that's kind of where that quote came from. Your opinion of me doesn't influence my life. I don't have to listen to that. But it took me over 30 years to figure that out and have it stick here. And so that's why I'm in this space. So thanks so much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Have a great Friday night and take care. If this resonated with you, and for those of you that catch me on the replay, thank you so much for catching me on the replay. If this resonated for you, give me a thumbs up, okay, and let me know this was helpful. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.